welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, a huge welcome to you. I'm Kylie and I hope you enjoy being a part of our growing community. Let's get into it, shall we? No matter how long you've been homeschooling, one thing we can all hope for is a smooth homeschool week. We all know that we can't expect that to happen week in and week out, but I know that each and every one of us wakes up on a Monday morning hoping for a smooth week ahead of us. And quite honestly, I think we'd all be okay if we just had a smooth run of consecutive days, wouldn't we? Even if we didn't make it a full week, if we just had a few consecutive days where everything just ran like clockwork. But you know, regardless of your previous homeschooling experience, I'm here to tell you that you can have smooth homeschool weeks. It's absolutely doable. And thankfully, there are steps that you can take to ensure that your weeks are as smooth as they can possibly be. And today, I'd like to share with you 5 ways that you can ensure that you have a much smoother homeschool week ahead of you. All of these tips are really practical, but they are super powerful because, you know, we need things as simple and easy, as practical as we can possibly get them, don't we? We need things that we can 100% truly incorporate into our home and actually see them making a difference into our daily routines to help us on our journey to smoother weeks ahead. So here's to a much smoother homeschool week. And my first tip, which I'm sure you've all heard before, but I do think it's at the core of everything we do: create an overall routine for your household. Now that's going to look completely different in every house because every family and every household is completely different and unique. So it is about trying things out, testing what works for you, what doesn't work, what's an absolute disaster, or what does bring more peace to your day. And sometimes this can take a bit of time to work through what does and doesn't work for you. Routines do not have to be super detailed. They just need to be something that naturally accommodates your family. And I know for myself, my general household routine is not written down anywhere. It's just something that I've worked on over the years, and now I just keep it all up here in my head. But we want to think about routines that genuinely include our children in the day-to-day running and organising of our household, because we're all living together under the one roof. We're all contributing to mess and food creation and art and craft creation, and we all need to contribute to keeping the house running smoothly, clean, tidy, and all of the things that goes along with that. For example, a really basic, simple routine where you have the steps in place and the children learn to follow the steps every single day in the same way. Wake up, make your bed, get yourself some breakfast, clean up after breakfast, brush your teeth, and get yourself organised for the homeschool day ahead. A very basic routine to start with implementing what a routine looks like for our children in our homes. I want you to notice that there's no times attached to this routine. I don't do timetables. For some people, they work fabulously. Some of us just love the structure around timing our routines. That does not work for me in any way, shape or form. So it is about working on smaller, simple routines for me that I can just follow step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, but without any actual time slot being added to those routines. And once you've got a basic, really broad overview routine in your household, you can slowly work on starting to add in other bits and pieces that will help you. Having the children unload the dishwasher, ensuring that all their dirty washing is brought into the laundry, just little things like that. Add them into the step of the routine as each one becomes a habit. So that's why I said it may take 12, 18 months for you to fully build a genuine, workable routine that it just becomes habit for your family. But if you persevere, that routine will definitely help your mornings get off to a much smoother start. So if we're creating a routine for our home, then of course, we also want to create a routine for our homeschool. And that brings me to number 2. And that, yes, creating a routine for our homeschool. So as I said, just by using the exact same tactics we did with creating our morning routine in the house, we can also replicate that in our homeschool. Create a simple, basic routine to follow that you can slowly build on as the days and weeks progress. That may mean starting with something like a morning basket where everyone gathers together, you read a few books, do a few group activities together, and that forms the beginning of every single homeschooling day. After morning basket time, it may be time for everyone to then go off to their separate areas and do some independent learning, and then come together again at the end of the day to wrap up with some family learning time. But of course, that again is going to look different for each and every one of you. We all need to find a routine that works best for us. Plain and simple. It's the only way our routines are going to work. We can of course try and implement routines that other families have suggested that work for them, but we need to quickly assess and realise when that particular routine isn't serving our needs as best as it probably should. We here in our home have had a pretty standard homeschooling routine for quite some time now. It's really simple, really basic. I'm not a timetable person, as I said, so our routines are very simple, but we all know the flow and structure of our day because every day, apart from if there's extracurricular activities and those types of things that just slot in, but a basic normal day is pretty much the same each week moving forward. Our homeschool mornings always begin with a documentary. It seems weird because I know most people end their day with something like this. This was something I started when we were in COVID lockdown. I knew that our days were long, stretching out before us, that we were not going to be going off to any extracurricular activities or any of those things. And so I just wanted something a little bit different to mix up our days with. And so that's when I introduced the watching documentary when we first get up and gather. We spend around 20 minutes. The kids always beg for more, constantly begging for more. But we spend around about 20 minutes of documentary viewing before we move on to the next step of our routine. And for us, we move straight into our morning basket. Some mornings that's half an hour or so reading from several books, and others it's purely just picking up one and reading that. Again, that just depends on what's happening later in the day and how much time we have available to spend with our morning basket. After morning basket time, it's maths, some independent learning, and then we all come back together for a family learning time, which might be some science or history or geography, depending on what our focus is for that particular term. And we are most generally always finished all of these learning activities before lunch. So that's a topic for another video, and I will cover that at some point. But we may be curriculum users, but we are relatively relaxed curriculum users, and therefore even with my older children, we are 90% done always before lunch. We never really school any longer than 2 or 3 hours in the day. So as you can see, no times attached to our routine in any way, shape or form. We simply start at the beginning and we flow through step by step because we've practiced them for so long that each step just naturally follows the other. All of us know what's coming next. It's just part of our daily habit for us now, but no times. So some days, as I said, we'll spend a lot longer on one area simply because we have more time or we're more immersed in that particular topic. And other days, if we're having a bit of an off one, we definitely may zoom through things and do them a little bit faster than we probably should. Okay, number 3, and that is to have a meal plan. I have to be honest here, this is something that I still struggle with. 14 years of homeschooling, nearly 20 years of motherhood, and meal planning is a genuine struggle for me. It's just not something that I enjoy doing, or it's not something that comes easily. But the times that I do meal plan, it just makes for such a smoother week. Those afternoons and evenings are just so much better when I'm not scrambling around wondering what on earth we're going to be having for dinner. So I know some people love meal planning. Some meal plan on a Sunday for the whole week ahead, go out and do their shopping and get everything prepped and ready to go. Others meal plan for months at a time, and I'm in awe of that. I truly am. It's not me. It's not something I can do. But I do encourage you in some way, shape or form to try your hand at some level of meal planning, even if it's just 3 days at a time, until you get the hang of it and find what works best for you. Another thing that I find is really helpful when we had a second freezer, because ours just recently died, was to pre-cook as many meals as I possibly could. And yes, that does see me sometimes on a Sunday in the kitchen all day. I've got the oven going, 2 slow cookers, my Thermomix, the stove going, cooking all manner of meals. But then for the next week or so, I'm simply pulling something out of the freezer. And those weeks, oh, they're heavenly. They're truly heavenly. So it's just weighing up what you value more. Losing, a full day out of your weekend, or doing the evening cooking scramble in the kitchen. And that's a personal preference and completely okay with whichever one that you choose. If you're enjoying today's video, I would so appreciate if you could give it a thumbs up down below. That way it will be shown to a lot more people that may be looking for information like this, and I'd really, really appreciate it. So thank you for those of you who do take the time to do that. Number 4, don't overbook yourself or your children. Oh man, this is another one that's so hard for me. I know it realistically. I know that we shouldn't be overbooking ourselves. I know what it does to our home. I know what it does to me. But I really, really struggle with keeping our outside activities to a bare minimum. As homeschoolers, there's so much available to us, isn't there? It's literally every day of the week. My kids could be in 2 or 3 different workshops, classes, sporting activities, excursions, hanging out with friends, all of those type of things. There's so much available to us that it's really, really hard to often say no. But we can also run the risk of completely overwhelming our schedule, completely overwhelming ourselves and our children to the point where we're just pulling our hair out because we're constantly running from here to there. And I don't know about you, but part of the reason I homeschool is to remove myself from that rat race. I don't want to be living like that. I don't want to be out of bed at 5:30 a.m, bang, 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 pushing the kids out of the door, hurry up, let's go. We've chosen this so that we can have a slower, more enjoyable lifestyle. And so I especially have to be super careful as to how many activities I allow my children to enroll in. Because there's definitely been times over the years that I have run myself completely ragged, driving my kids here, there, and everywhere. Because you know what? A 1-hour science class is never 1 hour. You've got travel time there and back. You can never leave the science class directly at the end of the science class. You're always going to have a little conversation and a chit chat. The kids want to stay around and play and hang out with their friends and all of those type of things. You've got prep time before you leave home to get to the 1-hour science class. So let's say your science class is close. It's only a 15-minute drive. There's an hour and a half for the class itself before you've even left the house. You've got probably another 30 to 60 minutes at the end of the class hanging around, chit-chatting, and then possibly even a half an hour at home preparing to be able to actually leave the house. So this 1-hour class has now turned into close to a 3-hour episode. So this is where we do really need to be careful and pick and choose wisely the activities our children are doing. Sorry, I've got my throat today. So something I'm still learning. It's all well and good to have our children doing all these wonderful, amazing activities and programs. But if it's to the detriment of your well-being and your calmness of spirit, then you really need to assess how important are these activities to your overall family dynamics. Another seemingly non-homeschooling task is getting the housework done. And this is my next tip on ensuring you have a smoother week. When all children participate and learn how to do household chores, you're not only helping to have a home that is run more smoothly and more efficiently, but you're also providing your children with valuable life skills. Not to mention, it actually counts as home economics as well. So start young, start small, and start with very low expectations. I know when your kids are little, it is so much easier for you to just grab the dirty pile of laundry, put it in the machine, put the powder in, press start, and off you go. You can literally have that done in under a minute. But when you've got a 2-year-old who you're showing how to push laundry into a machine, that activity could possibly take 10 minutes or even longer. And so I know that it seems counterproductive to be doing these things, but I can promise you, over the long run, it absolutely is not. The focus here is providing the skills with our children for them to move forward and understand what's involved in keeping house. And we all know how much work it actually is to maintain an organised, clean, tidy and well-fed home. It's a massive task, massive, massive task. As your children mature, they can then slowly take on more involved, challenging tasks and genuinely start contributing to the running of an efficient household. This not only alleviates some of the pressure and stress on the adults in the home, but it's giving our children such a valuable set of life skills. And this, I believe, is the most important reason, not necessarily to keep the home clean and tidy and less work for mum and dad or helping to contribute to the running of the home in which every child lives in. It's the skills that the children are taking from this moving forward. When they finally decide that it's time to move out and they walk into their kitchen the very first time and they're standing there going, what do I need to do? How do I cook this? How do I do that? How do I start my washing machine? Teaching your children valuable life skills such as household chores will have them walking into their new home with confidence. They're not going to be standing there scratching their head and ringing you at every step of the way. And I know some people don't necessarily agree with children and household chores, and that's okay. Everyone needs to parent and do the best that suits them. But I can only speak from my experience, as always, and my mother was a wonderful mother who did most everything for us. I think the only chore I ever really remember doing was washing dishes or drying dishes. And I struggled quite a bit when I moved out of home. And I would say even to this day that I'm not a great housewife. Keeping house is not a priority for me. And everything I have created in my home, I've had to come up with myself. And so I don't want that for my children. I want them to understand all the elements of keeping house. Okay, so these ideas alone are a great starting point to help you create less chaotic and more smoother days in your home and for your homeschool weeks ahead. Of course, as I said earlier, many of them are going to take time, weeks, months, sometimes even years to fully implement into your home. I do understand that. These take work. And in the early days, it's probably going to give you more work rather than less. But if you continue to do the baby steps and bring in brand new habits and routines into your home slowly over the coming weeks and months, they will simply become habit. And once one new routine has then become a habit in your home, it's time to think about something else that you can bring in to help with the overall efficiency and creating that smooth week that we are all longing for. There's lots of little things that we can bring into our home on our quest for a smoother homeschool week. So what are your go-tos? What are the absolute must-haves in your week to ensure that it's as smooth as it possibly can be? I'd really, really love you to share them all below. Let's start a great conversation about this, because the comments is where we can all really learn and grow from each other. So please take a minute to pop your absolute number one things that you need to do in your home to ensure a smooth week, because I know that you're all going to have things that I can learn from as well. And of course, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Every single one of your likes, comments and subscribes literally lights up my face like you wouldn't believe when I see it in the back end of my YouTube channel. For a little itty bitty channel, it really does make such a difference, and it genuinely tells YouTube, hey, this video is actually worth watching, send it out to more people. So yes, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. So thanks for being here, everyone. I really appreciate your time, and I will see you all again soon. Bye for now.